record for all of that. You've got out and back in. How's everybody's week been so far?
Good week.
Good to hear that. Claire, how about you? How's your Tuesday been?
Good. It's been really good. Rain, like my basement's flooded, rain like crazy, but otherwise it's been a really good day.
Sorry for the flooding. Hope that ends as they say quickly.
Yeah.
Not so fun. Got it. All right. So a little bit of who I am. I gave a really quick, the very, very start, but I'll dive in a little bit deeper. Jamie Gazes. I am Chief Breakthrough Officer here at Patient Mastery, and I've been here with 5 years in March. I work with doctors to help you uncover obstacles and challenges that are blocking the path to your goals. And Claire and Mick can both attest. I coach on everything from mindset to practical steps to take in practice and in life. And I will help you to uncover what's stopping you from living the life of your dreams. I'm on the leadership team here at Patient Mastery, really focusing on making our community the most impactful it can possibly be in growing awareness and love and passion for chiropractic. Today, it's my pleasure to introduce Mick Wilson out of San Diego. Mick, I had the pleasure of speaking with for the very first time just over 2 years ago in June of 2022, when he reached out to learn more about Patient Mastery. And Mick, I can say it's been an absolute joy coaching you these past 2 years, being part of the journey and seeing your incredible growth. And you join us for events. You're constantly sharing your wisdom, your gains, your challenges, things you've overcome. And I'm excited for everyone on this call tonight to get to meet you. Well,
Nice. Thanks.
you're welcome. So that's broad stroke. And Mick's going to share some of the biggest contributions to tripling his practice for these last 2 years, his growth in new patients, and the ease he's been finding in practice. Get us started with some background. Where'd you go to school? What did you do when you first graduated? How many years till you started Patient Mastery? All that.
Okay. I've been practicing. This is the start of my 15th year, so I've been a chiropractor since 2010. I went to Western States, so Portland, schooling up in Portland, Oregon, and I'm from SoCal, so the rain up there, I was like, I'm going back to San Diego no matter what. So came down here, and I found a guy that was practicing for 10 years before, who we kind of looked like brothers, and so it's kind of an easy transition. So I took over his practice, and he was a solo doc, did everything himself. And I took it over, that was 2010. So I've never worked for, I also dealing with a cop. So I've never worked for anyone. He was there for like 2 weeks, and then I took it over. And then, yeah. So fast forward, well, I mean, practice style, diversified, the IFC, heat, flexion, distraction, mainly adjust, little taping, some gua sha, but mainly adjust. And in-network, all the insurances, slowly trying to work on that, getting out of some of those hopefully soon. And I found myself like 2 years ago when I joined Patient Mastery, I was almost looking at doing other things because I felt like I was kind of just over the daily grind of like seeing a bunch of people, not collecting as much as I feel like I should. And somehow I got the email from Patient Mastery. I don't know if I signed up for it once or somehow. And then finally one day I was like, oh, what is this? And then, yeah, that was 2 years ago. And then, yeah, rest is history.
That was a jumping in with both feet for you, for sure.
Yeah.
Starting practice with 1 minute's worth of knowledge and a degree. That's crazy.
That fake it till you make it thing was definitely my saying at the time.
Got it. And you did it to an extent. I mean, you got yourself to a level of success before you started with us, that dumb work to achieve. And yet for you was really a point that you couldn't seem to break through. When we had that initial conversation, you just felt that you were hitting it over and over, but could not break through a certain level. And so was it frustration that motivated you forward? Was it hope for the possibility? Like, what made you say, okay, I'm willing to dive into this?
I mean, I think it was frustrated, just not collecting what I thought I should. We were also doing more personal growth stuff, my wife and I, and then she was doing some stuff, and I was like, I need to do something that like gets my head in a better space. Because I'm like, oh, I want to quit being a chiropractor. Not quit, but I'm like, I'm over being a chiropractor because of whatever. And then I was like looking at other, I mean, at the same time, I own a CrossFit gym currently at that time, 2 years ago, that I've had started and had for 10 years, but I sold that about a year and a half ago. And I had that. So I felt like I was getting pulled from chiropractic to the CrossFit side of running that business and this one. And I was like, well, I was always looking at something else instead of focusing on this business that I had in front of me, So I think I just needed something to show like, well, this is awesome what we do. Why not make it to where it's more enjoyable and fulfilling and rewarding and profitable?
Awesome. And you shared that you were attention divided, that you had two multiple businesses you were running simultaneously. How far into patient mastery did we impact the decision to be in two different businesses?
Well, so I sold it a year and a half ago. So I remember just a few months into patient mastery, Josh was one of the talks were like, don't try to start another business when you haven't like conquered the one you're in. Right. And I'm like sitting here, I'm like, well, shit, I'm getting tugged both directions. I need to get rid of one, So it was literally like I started in July and I sold it a year and a half ago, January-ish. So yeah, it was quick. And that was my best year. Last year was my best year I've ever had. So not being pulled, it just worked out. You guys are right.
We often are. There's a tendency to, whether it's a totally different company, a totally different business structure, or just like, oh, what's that? Maybe that could help me grow. Shiny object syndrome we talk about a little bit in patient mastery, that I feel personally a lot of chiropractors are more prone to than a lot of other industries, right? And so how does that get quieted for you, as far as really hunkering down and focusing on the essential?
Yeah. I mean, I see it in here. Like I see a lot of dogs that do a bunch of different things and they do really well with it. And it's like hard to just not want to do what they're doing. You know what I mean? You don't want to bring, what I've learned from you guys is you don't want to bring something in because you think it's going to make you more money. You want to bring it in because it's going to be a benefit and an asset for your patients, And I think that switched because I remember I had ideas of bringing stuff in and I'm like, do I want it or do patients need it? You know what I mean? Is it going to get a better care or is it just for me to make more money? So learning that from you guys is helped with the shiny object syndrome. Yes,
Totally. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that piece. And then what were some of those first pieces as you stepped into patient mastery? You're like, okay, this is having an impact. This is changing how I'm looking at my practice or how I'm working with my patients.
I that the deserving process, I remember doing it the first, day, 30 days in a row that you guys want us to do. And just coming up with, and all the talks after that with you guys about like the limiting beliefs that we tell ourselves, like, oh, if I can't afford this care, why would someone else, like we try to tell ourselves because you didn't grow up with money or we couldn't have things because it was too expensive that like we can't charge for that. So the mindset, I think, is the number one thing that I've learned, just how it changes just what we deserve, but then also the whole tone thing, like changing the tone over bone you guys talk about, that the intention and the tone it's huge. Like I feel like I can spend less time with a patient, but be more present than I would before. So I feel like my exams went down from like 30, 40 minutes to like 5, you know what I mean? And I feel like because of the consultation, all of that stuff, it shows that your intention and your tone and you care. And I could see it right away when I started talking to new patients, just the difference it made within, the first time I even tried it. So that was huge.
That's awesome. And just for those of you who are not as familiar with the concept we use internally of tone over bone, tone being how you say the things you say, how you're present, how you interact, how you show up energetically with that other human, the bone being what it is that you're saying, the actual details of it. And we believe and are reinforced on an everyday basis by the doctor program that it's tone over bone every single time. I appreciate you sharing that piece of it, Nick. And then the third process is really an opportunity. And any of you who've reached out to us at any point in time, we can get you that, even electronically, just to get familiarity with it, is really Dr. Wagner's vantage point on how to remove old blocks, old limiting beliefs, current limiting beliefs, things that are in the way of us really stepping into this life we want and showing ourselves we deserve it. And it's one of my favorite pieces of coaching in this program is watching people who want to deserve it, but maybe don't feel they do yet, actually start claiming it and seeing life showing up. And it's a pleasure seeing that for you. You know, I went back, we joked a few months ago, I went back to some of my old notes from you from like the very, very beginning, and how many of the things you told me you wanted then, the travel, baby rigs, he has a brand new baby boy, you know, all of those pieces, like you realize how much of this you've checked off, you've given life. And, you know, the other piece I'd love to hear you speak to a bit is you were not happy. You said, I thought about leaving chiropractic, but you were not. And you are now. What have you done? You know, we've heard you talk about the consult making things easier. What else has been the key to really stepping into this next level for yourself?
Well, I mean, the consult, the recommendations, but also, I mean, increasing your fees, like getting paid for what I feel I want to get paid has been huge. And it makes you go like, oh, I'm not getting a $10 copay, and this person thinks this is $10 worth of care. You know what I mean? So it just, when they value it more because they paid for it, it just makes me want to like pour into them. I don't know why. It's just like they get better results the more they pay. So it's just more rewarding if when we can charge and get paid for what we want. And then just, I don't know, with you guys also changed the hours, right? Like you recommend Monday through Thursday. So having Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, like that was tough for me at first. And I did it right away. I think I did it a month after, and I thought it would, you know, but it was awesome. So having 3 days off, be able to do like a week trip and still get some work in front end, you know, beginning and end after the weekend. So you're not missing out on a whole week. It's just quality. Quality just practice is so much better. And then on top of that, it took me 12 years to hire a CA, and you guys are the main reason that happened. And that has been like 3 months, and not having to do the paperwork, checking patients in, taking money has been a game changer. Like it's been one of the best feelings as well. So in the months that I've had her, I've collected more, more than the year last year, which was my best year. So if this year continues, it's going to be even better than last year. So I can't say enough about having all those pieces. So just someone to help you out, a CA, charging what you're worth. And I feel like I'm working less hours.
Awesome. And is your CA going through the CA training with patient mastery?
Yeah. We started it a few weeks ago. She did the first intro, and then I'm gone next week. So she's going to do a bunch of stuff next week.
Because I remember that was, I don't want to say a concern, but a hesitation for you. Like, how am I going to get this person through all of this stuff? And so we were part of your hiring process and your training process. And something I think a lot of people who don't know a lot about us may not know yet. You know, that's a really integral piece. We know how valuable having a great team is.
Yep.
It's almost more important than you being great.
I think it's absolutely more important, because I had this patient who's like, I love just talking to someone in the front room. I'm not just sitting there and like, oh, I love Robin. And I'm like, she's the first and last person they see. So I feel like they should like her better than, you know what I mean? So
dude, totally. And then as far as the practice itself, you know, you've talked about shifting your days. I know you and I have talked about you shifting your hours to be more accommodating to your young family, you know, even on the days that you are in and wanting to be home with Riggs and Ashlyn. how has being able to restructure your day helped?
I haven't quite done it 100%. Tuesdays, like today, I'm done usually 5:15, which is way better than 6. And then I've been over the months of coming in at like 8:15 to see patients before 9, and I've stopped doing that. So it's more rigid from 9 to 5:15 on Tuesdays and then 6 on the other days. But I'm trying to go down a little more, but just haven't.
Let's get there.
Yeah.
And then talk to me and the community here about the impact of the live interactions that you take part in. Because I know I've seen you at every instance since you've joined, you take part in our deep dive. What's that been like? And then on the deep dive piece, if you would, because that's where we bring in spouses even much more significantly, you'd mentioned a little bit about what that's like.
I mean, I think I went to my first Dallas. I joined in July and in October when you guys did it. So I think I've done 3 of them because you did 1 in Dallas and then, yeah, I think I've done 3. And I think everything's cool over the computer and you can read everything, but being with all these other docs that are going through the same thing that you're doing, they're at different levels, but all of us are dealing with the same like demons inside telling us we can't observe certain things, and just getting ideas and like pouring yourselves into each other, just showing like it's just how much each other cares about each other. And I think a lot of people think outside of patient mastery, like I feel like chiros for some reason don't want to like hang out and friends with each other. I don't know. At least the chiros, I feel like it's almost like they feel like you're going to steal patients or something. And I'm like, what are you talking about? There's enough to go around. But maybe that's just being around the different docs and talking with them is awesome. I mean, this year we were racing in a swimming pool. Like we were just doing some fun stuff. And I talked to some of those guys weekly since then. So it just builds relationships, someone you can fall back on to if you have a question or it just shows that there's a good community here to just pour into each other and help. And it's an awesome feeling. It's what I needed because I thought I was on my own island just by myself and there's no one experienced what I was. And you're like, holy shit, all of us are doing it at some point.
That alone on your own island thing is a really, really prevalent chiropractic trait. I think there's a lot of I have to achieve this on my own for it to count sometimes seems to show up. And so I love this community. It's something, Dan's on, Dan has had a call with me. Peter's on, Peter's had a chance to speak with me in the past. And like, that's something I preach about when people get on these calls, that you will not believe what this community is like until you get in it, because it doesn't exist anywhere else.
No.
I've never seen it anywhere else. And I mean, even on our Facebook, which sounds ridiculous because it's like the most disconnecting, connected place, people go out of their way and answer, last month, I think Paul Schrogen did this conversation with Dr. Wagner. And I've seen in the last 2 weeks, probably 12 different responses that probably each took him 20 minutes to write with that much forethought and that much effort and energy to make sure the person understands and receives. And so I'm grateful. The community feels as good to those of you in it as it does, to me on the periphery of it. And so one of the pieces you mentioned, I can share this because I know that not everyone would know this yet, was you shifting your charging, your value, your ability to step into charging closer to what you're worth. I'm going to connect the dots on the deserving process piece of that for you, because you mentioned them separately, but I know how big letting go of some of those old stories was. And it wasn't always just like the generic, I had less. A lot of us had less. You had other stories that showed up for you and you worked so hard to step into new ones. What are some new deserving beliefs you've created for yourself as far as either goals or things that you're on a path?
Well, I would like to break like 650 this year and have an awesome second half of the year. And then we're talking about either building a house or eventually even moving to Idaho to like get out of California and do stuff differently, but just stuff like that. And I think back to the deserving process and fees, doing that with you, one of the things you said to me is when you said you're taking this from my son. Like, if you're not charging or something, you're like, the way you said it, that like hit me more than any. I was like, whoa, it's making me like tear up right now thinking about it. I was like, that's true. You know what I mean? So
I think what I shared is that you were putting the thoughts, feelings, and potential financial, flow of a complete and utter stranger as a priority above your own family.
yeah,
And that was the piece that really challenged me as a coach to say, like, okay, this is glaringly obvious at this point to me, but you weren't seeing it yet.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that was awesome.
Yeah, those nuggets of truth that sometimes fall out before I even have a chance to overthink them. But I'm glad it resonated and it sat well with you, for sure. For someone who is on the call and has either spoken to us in the past or hasn't, what were, I don't want to say what were the things that might have kept you from starting, but we all show up with stories, right? So you were on the call with me and it was like, are you doing this or not doing it? What pushed you over the edge? Like, what made you say, like, yeah, I'm willing to give this a try because what?
I think it was like when I think you're like, oh, well, I would like to break 30 grand a month or something. I think I told you, but remember, you're like, oh, you would do that, no problem. And I was like, just like that. I think you didn't even like hesitate, or that's what I'm telling myself. And I was like, no shit. I was like, all right, then let's do it. That for some reason.
Now that number is pretty far in the rearview mirror, which is amazing.
So like this month, I've collected 30,000 and it's halfway through. So it's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that was your big goal at the time. Like, that was the big number. So,
Yeah. So it was
that's awesome.
also, I mean, I've never done any coaching or anything before, so I was a little hesitant. But I don't know. I don't know, conversations with you guys and the way, I mean, it was all, I never really felt like I was going to get duped into anything or that like I shouldn't, like I never felt that at all. So it's kind of a good feeling from the start. And then when you're like, oh, you make that no problem, like, well, it works for me.
Let me ask you a question. And I didn't prep you for this one. So if I'm outing you on something, I apologize. But simply to say, this time a year ago, I said to you, something isn't connecting. Like, I feel like something's off. Would you want to go back through from the beginning?
Yeah, I remember that. Didn't we do that?
We did it.
Yeah.
And it was like a gear switch for you. And I'm speaking to that because I think it speaks to the honesty of this program. Like, we want you to succeed. We're not just having you here to show up and like half the time, and we're really invested. And so the difference between the Mick of a year ago even and the Mick of today, I think, is largely in part due to you saying, you know what, let's do it. Let's really go back through from the beginning.
I was standing up and you had me close my eyes and stuff too, right? Yeah. No, yeah, I remember that. I would say so. Well, also, I mean, I also feel like I raised my prices once and then we did more stuff about what you want, like more practices. You guys and Jerica did stuff with me and like, how does that feel? And then I'm like, shoot, I better do it again. So I feel like it's been a definite evolution of you guys not really pushing us, but leading us where we want to go.
That's a super valid point, because I think, at least from some other programs out there, everything's kind of cookie cutter and everybody goes through the exact same journey, soup to nuts, no matter who you are and what you're doing. And that's not how we operate, right? So everybody starts the same way. And then we do a series of evolving calls with you to really assess what's stopping you now, right? What's in the way, whether it's something tactical that you're doing incorrectly, but like it's getting in your way, or whether you just haven't learned or mastered something. And so can you speak to some of that, just really that refocusing and saying, okay, yeah, you've gotten to this level, you want this level next. Here's what you get to do.
I know I went through everything and then I kind of got to like went back through everything, because I think we go through stuff and we're like, oh, we got it. Like I do the consult, I do recommendations, and then slowly you're just doing the consult. Maybe you don't do the recommendations the same. And you're like, whoa, why are people like continue, like, committing to care? So I think the cool thing about this is it keeps us accountable. It holds us to like staying on top of it versus just like learning it once and forgetting about it and hopefully do it. So I think the calls, the tribe calls, all this stuff with you, with Jerica, it keeps us like, oh, damn, I should go back and check this out. Or damn, I need to hit the deserving process. Cause I've noticed times where I haven't been doing it and I do it that day and like someone signs up or I get like a bunch more new patients. I'm like, what is, why? You know what I mean? How? So it just, yeah. I mean, I just like the whole thing because it keeps us just going in the right direction and make sure we don't fall off.
Awesome. Mick, you just brought up a bunch of the things that we do inside Patient Mastery and named Jerica my co-head coach. And that what I'd love to do is do a real quick, for anyone who was on the call last month, we did this, but if you weren't, a real quick, just sort of, what is Patient Mastery? We'll go behind the curtain for a moment and just talk about a couple of those things that Mick just mentioned. And so as this loads, these are not actual buttons. This is just sort of the overview of the flow that we take through Patient Mastery. And so you'll see, as we talked about, start together in the beginning, work through the consult. And then as we gain that knowledge at a high enough level, move into recommendations, care plans, and fees. That's the part I said everybody does the same. But after that, each of these missions, whether it's increasing your collections or leading your team, transitioning from insurance to cash, creating more wealth, increasing referrals, whatever it is that's missing for you, most importantly at that moment is what we'll focus on for you next. And so really going through that, and in each of those, let's say hiring has all different subsections within, right? Same thing, training for your team. And each of these is broken down into a variety of different topics that everybody is really training on the materials. That's a platform itself, right? And then coming back from there, these are our group coaching calls each and every week. Dr. Wagner hosts, Jerica hosts, I host a monthly mindset call. Dr. Brock, one of our docs, who I know Mick's done quite a bit of work with, hosts our Fridays. And then special recurring calls, member shares, expert guest speakers, calls for CAs, game planning and quarterly calls. All of these are available for our docs. $1 Million Roundtable is only for those who are a fit, but the recording is available. And then we also have monthly themes, really focusing attention each month on something that's important to focus in on. You'll see that this month we're working on simplifying our referrals, the monthly calendar. And then this piece I think is really relevant and important because this is what Mick was speaking to. All of these calls here, you'll see the one-to-one coaching calls with me, coaching calls with the tribe. So that's going to be a DC at a higher collections level than you, coaching you each month to really take tactical steps and improve your practice, move in the right direction. These one-to-one accelerator calls are the ones I'm talking about, working on consult, recommendations, care plans, and then the collections breakthrough series. And that's where we send a questionnaire and really work with you. What is keeping you from breaking through that next collection level? All the group calls, the live events that we talked about, program's extremely comprehensive. And so what we'd like to do, stop sharing, is extend an invitation to any of you on the call tonight who have an interest in learning more. And we'll do a really basic preliminary call to see if it feels like there's a fit between what we offer and what you want. And if it does, then we'll get you onto an actual coaching call with myself or Jerica, just like the one that Mick had at the very beginning of his journey, to figure out how we help you best and get you started on the right path, if that's the right path. And if it's not, that's it. It's not. There's no arm twisting. This is not a stale conversation. It's either the right fit at the right time or it's not. And so I will drop in the chat. I'll do it now so that it's there for all of you. If you choose to, you can grab that link, schedule a call with us. I know this is traditionally webinar format. Want to open the floor if anyone has any questions for myself or for Mick tonight, we can answer here for you. And if we can't, we'll just let you know we can't. We'll do it privately on the call with you, correct? Anybody? You can unmute.
Have any questions? I'm an open book.
That is true. Mark, you coming in to unmute? Oh, battery sending. Could be. All right. I'm going to guess Mark was sending a message. All right, guys. Well, if there are no further calls, I know that Mick is not feeling 100%, and I promised him I would try and keep this as tight as I could for us. If you had questions, he would absolutely have stayed, but we pushed to go through a little more quickly. Mark, I see you unmuted. Did you have a question?
There we go.
There he is. We did it. That was, did you have a question? I know it's been a rough night. The link for a follow-up call with me, a short one, is in here. I don't know if you were able to hear any of that, but if you have any questions,
No, I did. I was trying to hop on. My friend that already with you guys sent me the link for tonight, but then I was in the middle of taking care of the kid.
So who's your friend, Luke or Jackson? Those are the two people who asked me.
Yeah,
that.
Luke.
Awesome. He's a good guy. Don't tell him I said that though. Like, I don't want the head getting, you know. Oh, now
No.
this is recorded. He's going to see it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I was listening. I was trying to get some stuff down around the. You can probably hear some kids' movies on right now. So yeah, it was kind of a bad night for me to do it, but I just tried to hop on.
Well, we appreciate
Hoping
you
for the best.
trying. And if you use the link that I dropped into the chat, you can schedule a really quick call with us, and then we can talk about whether everything we talked about tonight might be for you. And then it'll be on your turn and your time without hopefully everybody running around in the background. I've got two little ones of my own. I get fully understood. I promise. Mick can vouch. We've done some calls where I'm like, sorry, here's my kid. So, you know, it happens to the best of us.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And I know me and him were in another group together at one point. That's how I knew him. And so we talk about a lot of stuff like this a lot. And so I know he's, spoke highly of you guys. So that's kind of why I wanted to check into it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm the one who reminded him that even Tiger Woods had a coach. If that puts two and two together, because he's told that story like times. I didn't know if it made it to you, but that was me. They cried. Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Mick, thank you so much for your generosity and sharing with us today, especially feeling so under the weather. Go get home to your little guy. We appreciate you. And guys, zero pressure. If you want to take us up on the free opportunity for a coaching call with us, there is zero obligation beyond that. There is no sale. Like, not the right fit. It's not the right fit. But this is the best way to find out.
Highly recommend.
That's awesome. I appreciate it.
And hopefully everybody saw the link. John had shared that the link gave him an error message. I did just open it on my side. It's working perfectly for me. So I will put it in one more time just in case. But on my side, it is working flawlessly. You'll have a video of Josh and then a link to connect to schedule that call.
Yeah,
All
I can
right.
out, I'm sure.
Perfect.
It's
Thank you,
part of
everybody. Oh,
active.
sorry, didn't cut you off.
No, I was just gonna say I don't think it is active, but I like not
Here,
clicking.
you know what? Then we'll do it. Hang on.
Right.
We do it this way instead. Try this. Try that one. Is that one working?
Oh, I didn't go down to.
Just let me know, guys. I'm glad you're testing. I'd much rather we know than I give you a link that totally doesn't work somehow.
It might be me. For some reason, it's not clickable, but I mean, I can just write it down. Yeah, I can't click on it for some reason, but maybe it's
Got
me.
it. It's letting me, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything because I'm the one who put it in.
Hmm.
But anybody who RSVP'd, I can ask the team to send the link. John said it started working for him. I don't know, Mark. It It's one of those nights.
I
We'll just
congrats-
chalk it up to that.
It'll work.
Perfect. Well, thank you everybody so much. We'll do this again next month and we'll all talk soon, hopefully. Thanks for spending your evening with me.
Like,
Bye,
skate-
guys.